Hi guys! So here we are after reading chapter
25
of the book of Matthew. And now it's time to review.
And we have 3 chapters left.
Wow, 3 chapters.
So you're almost there. We're almost there, since we're on the journey together.
Yeah. So what stood out to you?
So in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus tells 3 different parables. And in the parable that spoke to me was the parable of the talents. And what I've noticed about Jesus' parables is he uses a lot of this master-servant kind of story.
Yeah, he does.
He's the master and we're his servants.
Yeah.
And as servants, yes, he expects us to do things, right?
And I don't think it's like servants like we're his slaves.
Slaves, yeah.
Servants that want to serve him.
In this parable, the master goes away and he gives money to his servants. And there are 3 servants. To one servant, he gives 5. To another, he gives 2. And to another, he gives 1. When he comes back, the one who he gave 5 to doubled that amount and gave back his master 10. The one he gave 2, he gave back his master 4. And the one who had 1 didn't increase anything that his master gave to him. And of course, it's speaking of money, but it could also be speaking of your gifts, your time,
and all in relation to God.
Yeah, it's all in relation
between us and God.
It's all in relation to how we use our time, money, and talents for God. And God wants us to be faithful servants to what he gives to us. And I like how verse 23 says it. And it says, his Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. So when we serve the master, Jesus tells us here that there is joy in the things we do. What I noticed about these servants was that they weren't afraid to use what God gave to them. Compared to the other one, so to the one who he gave 1 to, the servant responds by saying he was afraid and went and hid the talent because he was afraid to lose it or somehow misuse it. But the master responds and says this in verse 28, therefore you take that talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. And in verse 29, for to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away.
I feel like you have a point there, because you said misuse, and I feel like for that very reason a lot of us are afraid to not use our talents because we're afraid to misuse them. Because no one's afraid that we're going to lose them, but a lot of us are afraid also of reactions because it's also like our gifts, right? So me for example, I like art and I feel I do have a bit of a gift in that area, but oftentimes I'm afraid to put myself out there and put my art out there, and even if it means sharing it with someone else. So a lot of times I have to really pray about that. So don't be afraid to pray about it and ask God to help you.
And what I've noticed too about myself is that if I use the gifts that God has given to me, I find myself with more gifts.
Yeah, he blesses you with more, and I've noticed that in you too.
With more skills, and it's all for the furthering of God's kingdom.
Exactly. Things that you never imagined that you would be able to do.
Yeah.
Somehow you're able to do it.
And that here, what Jesus says is true, right? The one who has 5 ended up giving back his master double, and the one who didn't want to use it was given to somebody else.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that saying, use it or lose it. So for me, I liked the verses 35 through around 37, and where Jesus says, for I was hungry and you gave me food, I was thirsty and you gave me drink, I was a stranger and you took me in, I was naked and you clothed me, I was sick and you visited me, I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? Then in verse 40 it says, and the king will answer and say to them, assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did this to one of the least of these of my brethren, you did it to me. And I just think it's kind of crazy because people don't think about that. You know, a lot of times people might ask others for help, or, you know, there's beggars, you know, homeless people. And a lot of times we don't think about the fact that that's what Jesus wants us to do. He wants us to take care of these people, because in doing so, it's like we're doing it for him.
We're doing it to Jesus.
Yeah, because, you know, like the way the people react, like, wait, when did we do this for you? I feel like, you know, if they would have seen Jesus, they're probably thinking to themselves, like, if we would have seen you, we would have fed you. We would have.
And that's
you know?
what the other group responds, that Jesus kind of splits. He splits two groups. The first group just naturally helps the people.
Yeah.
And the second group, they give that as an excuse. If we knew it was you, Jesus, we would have helped.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, basically it seems kind of, you know, self-explanatory here. Like, if we see someone if we are in the capacity to help someone
in need, right? In any
need.
possible way.
Any
and it doesn't
way.
have to do with food or
whoever, you know, family, friends, church members, homeless, some random person you meet on the street that might be in need of help. If you can help them, then do as Jesus says. You know, it kind of reminds me again of everything that Matthew's been talking about. Sounds like we're getting pretty repetitive with this, but what does he say? What have we been learning?
To love God and to love others.
Exactly. And so
and it says when we properly love God and love others, naturally we're going to be helping those people.
Yeah, it'll just come from within us. Like, we won't even have to think twice.
Yeah, we're going to do it regardless.
Exactly.
So hopefully you are continuing to learn from the book of Matthew, learn from these stories, be changed to be more like Jesus each and every day.
Exactly. So hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow.
God bless.